Today's episode of the WAC podcast is brought to you by Hercules Tires, the official tire of the Western Athletic Conference. Now here are your hosts, Eric Danner and Rachel Vigil.
Welcome back to the WAC podcast. We're now joined by Lance Irvin, the head men's basketball coach at Chicago State University. Lance, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I'd like to thank Eric, you and Rachel for having me. Like I told Jim, it's always a blessing when I can talk to you two, because I know you two are always going to be smiling. Y'all make me feel better. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
Well, Coach, you always make us feel better, too, because you tend to have a smile on your face as well. And November 25th, Rachel and I have been talking about this on the show for quite some time now as the start date for college basketball. And I saw recently, Coach, you actually put your schedule out. So you're ahead of the curve there, because I think more than half of the WAC teams don't have an official schedule out yet. And you actually get a home game November 25th.
If we were fortunate, we have our one home game, but, hopefully that'll go off without any hitches or anything. But, we rode heavy this year. We have one home game. We have about 8 on the road, like normal. I'm trying not to get used to it, but it seems like I'm getting used to it. But we were able to schedule some local teams also, like Loyola, Northwestern. We play in Northern Illinois. So I'm one of the fortunate guys, because I really don't have to leave the state. Some of my friends trying to figure out how can they leave the state and play. So I'm fortunate, the schedule is challenging, like it always is. So I'm looking forward to finally playing, because it seems like forever when we actually played. And the last time I can remember playing this, I can't remember it. Sometimes it's like the 1st of March, I think, when we actually played. So I know guys that are excited to actually try to have a chance to play.
Which game are you looking forward to most, Coach?
You know what? All of them, because we have something to prove this year. I mean, this is the year I think we can definitely get over the hump. And with the guys that we have returned, like I actually bring some guys that actually played. I mean, last year when we returned, Rachel, we had like nobody that had played a Division I game. But this year, I think I bring back 7 to 8 guys. So I'm really looking forward to playing all of them, to be honest.
Coach, you mentioned there's a lot of games in the area there. So the good news is not a lot of miles to pile up on the road here. You got DePaul, at Eastern Illinois, at Northwestern, as you mentioned, Loyola Chicago, at Illinois State. So even though you do have just the one home game, you got to feel pretty good about being able to sleep in your own bed for most of those road games.
Definitely. My first year coaching, there was a song that said "My neck and my back." So we were traveling so much. I think we had about 14 out of 16 road games. So my neck was hurting, my back was hurting from the flights, from the bus trip. So sleeping in different beds. So just being able to travel close, hopefully my neck and my back won't hurt as much. But, I'm happy we had opportunity to stay close to home. And like we were talking earlier, I mean, playing with COVID these days is kind of scary in so many ways. So we felt like if we could play close to the school as possible and get guys back to sleep in their beds, that probably would be the best thing.
What are practices looking like with all of the COVID protocols?
They've been different for me personally, because I'm more of like a hands-on coach, and I like jumping out there and telling guys where to go. Or like, no, you need the 3/4 the post this way, and no, your stance, and like, you need the forearm guys, and I'm actually out there. This is my face shield, you see. I'll let you guys see it. So I'm out there wearing the face shield doing practice, and guys can barely hear me. So, it's been different. So, like I even told the guys, like I was starting this thing during the summer where I was going to count how many high fives we can get. So, because that means that the team is really joined together, I think. But we can't even do that now. So I'm like, be safe, be careful. So I find myself like 6 to 12 to 15 feet away from the fellas, like yelling, because, I'm trying to get them safe, and I'm trying to stay safe myself. But it's really hard.
Now, Coach, you yourself, you're a cancer survivor. You've battled cancer a few years back, and hopefully you're healthy and staying safe there. Do you have to take any extra precautions because of that with being around the players and just around, COVID in general?
You know what? I'm glad you asked me. You're the first person that basically asked me that question. And I've been on a ton of Zooms and everything, but I'm healthy, but I'm still a little bit leery. And my doctor told me that her and I need to talk before the season starts because she wants to test and make sure I'm still doing as well as I have been doing over the years. And no one knows that, you know, they don't know how COVID will affect you after you get it. So the one thing we talked about, just making sure I'm staying safe and making sure I'm doing everything the right way. I remember before we went to the WAC conference, I made a call to her, my oncologist, Dr. Stock. Let me send a shout out to my oncologist, Dr. Stock. I love her to death. And I was kind of nervous. So I sent her an email and she responded back. And she was just like, you know, it seems like everything is fine, but just make sure you sanitize and stuff. So when we talked in April, she was just like, Coach, you must have had an inkling because it changed at the drop of a dime. So, you know, as long as I continue to talk to her, I should be fine. But it's in the back of my mind a little bit because, you know, I have a daughter, Brooklyn, and I told her when I was sick the first time, I said, Brooklyn, I'm going to fight so I can see your wedding. So I got to make sure I make it to her marriage when she gets married at some point in time. But pretty much I try to stay. I really don't go nowhere. I haven't been on a flight since March. I go to my house. I go in the house, I take off my clothes, like pretty much my wife demands. See, she'd get on me, Rachel. You just came back from school, take off your clothes, wash them. So we doing all those type of things. And at the end of the day, I'm just praying to the man upstairs.
Coach, as a daughter, I'm sure your daughter loved to hear that because I know if my dad said that to me, I would just like melt my heart. So I'm sure she loved to hear that. But you mentioned 7, 8 returners, 5 of them are returning starters. How are you feeling about the team's chemistry so far moving forward in 2 weeks when we start playing games?
You know what? I feel pretty good, Rachel. We have Andrew Lewis that started, who you met again during WAC Media Day, We have Xavier Johnson that played Roger Jones. So it's just a breath of fresh air knowing that I have some experience. And practice has really been different because we have some new guys, and now they're able to take the leadership position and tell the guys, look, no, that's not how we do things. We do things this way. And they're always talking during practice now. So the energy is different in practice. Plus, they know I'm counting on those guys to really bring out the best in them, but also the best in each other. Like the other day, I was hollering at Andrew Lewis. I was like, hey, you need to be first team on defense. I thought you were first team on defense. So a guy like Xavier Johnson was like, Coach, what about me? I'm honorable mention on defense, right? So there's just a different energy. Last year, they would have been saying we need to score 20 points. And now it's like, hey, I want to be honorable mention on defense too. So just having different energy and the players just having a different mindset has really been huge this year.
Yeah, Rachel had a chance to visit with Andrew Lewis during the WAC basketball preview, and he was a very impressive young man. Is he someone you see taking more of a leadership role on the team this year?
Definitely. I think, Eric, like during January is when Andrew really started figuring it out. You know, at first when he came in, we were butting heads a little bit, and you know, my vocal cords were really working. They was at a high level with him. So then he figured it out. So now my vocal cords are not being tested as much. They're not as loud as Chris Jans and some of the other coaches, but they can get another octave. Chris, I'm just teasing. But anyway, no, he's really been huge. He's doing excellent in school. That's the thing I'm most proud of. And like yesterday in practice, he just started clapping like, come on, y'all, let's go. He's out there, moving his feet on defense, moving fast. So him and I mean, he has been great. I can't say enough about him.
Coach, where would you rank yourself on all the WAC coaches on being the loudest? You said maybe it's not as loud as Chris Jans, but where would you put yourself?
You know what? It was interesting because Lou Hill thinks that he can get me, but then he'll look at me during the game like I went yelling one time last year, and he looked at me and said, Irv, drop your voice a little bit, please. I can't hear myself. So I'm probably like maybe top 3, maybe. Top three. I know Jeff can get pretty loud too. So with that being said, I'm probably in the top 3.
It's always pretty interesting when there's a close call. All of our coaches tend to get pretty loud.
I heard Jim got loud at our place last year. I looked down there. I said, hey, Jim, I didn't know you could get that loud. He looked at me and started smiling. So, you know, we all seem to get pretty loud, but I think Chris might have everybody. everybody. But I'm trying to get the title. Hopefully, I won't steal the title this year. No,
Well, Coach, you have some new players on the team this year as well. The one, I guess, when everybody walks into the gym that they're going to notice is the 7-footer from Luxembourg, Lou DeMuth. How did you come in contact with Lou? I imagine your normal recruiting base isn't in Luxembourg.
No, like Lou's the guy that, you know, my assistant, Brett Puss, that left. He's the head coach at the Boy Area College. Now, he was going through some film somebody sent him, and we happened to watch it. And I was like, Brett, he's like, Coach, I already called him, and he's interested. And due to the fact that COVID was going on, we all had the same opportunity as everyone else. So it's not like guys can beat me to a private jet or guys can afford a ticket that I can't afford. So we just watched a lot of tape and called them. And pretty much we had about 15 schools that were supposed to go over there and see him. But Brett and I started calling him like every day because we liked what we saw in him. He's a great kid. He's a great human being, a good student. He can shoot. Once he gets stronger, he'll really be a force to reckon with. But I'm happy to have Big Lou. He's always in a great mood. So that's something else I love about him. But he can really shoot. He can pass. He's really starting to fit the mold that we're looking for at Chicago State.
Coach, at media day or preview day, you brought up a story about you playing softball with MJ. And I just have to ask how that got started.
Well, you know, my brother Mike, he used to throw parties, and my brother Nick, actually, they used to play with MJ right there, go to his house and play one-on-one. So, you know, we used to go to the club from time to time, and MJ would always come out there. So my brother Mike had a softball team. MJ had a traveling softball team. So we used to play quite often. So one day, I think the score was like 7-up, and we always talking stuff like we're talking crazy. And everybody know MJ, he's going to talk crazy. So he was at the plate. His daughter was at the cage, and she was saying, Daddy, get a hit. Daddy, get a hit. So he literally like, hold on. He stopped the game. He said, hold on. He said, what you mean, Daddy, get a hit? She said, no, Daddy, get a hit. Then he said, I'm going to ask you again, what you mean, Daddy, get a hit? So finally, she stopped and said, okay, Daddy hit a home run. And he almost hit a home run. So with that being said, though, I mean, I was like, is he serious? He said, get a hit. And he changed it to, no, tell me what you want me to do. And I think he hit a triple. Now, they lost the game. But I tell you, he would talk bad to you during the games, too. I mean, bad, crazy.
Well,
Coach, when was this? Was this after MJ was done playing? Was it during his playing days? When was this?
No, it was during his playing days, like during the summer. Like Sean Marion to play with us, and Sean, MJ, Michael Jordan, I think Charles Oakley played with us one day. I mean, they were crazy games, y'all. I enjoyed it, but like I said, the trash talking was so crazy. Like I was playing third base and MJ just hollered out, why your knees shaking, Lance? Why your knees shaking down? I said, come on, man, they not shaking. I bet you won't hit it my way. I dare you to hit it my way. So, you know, the trash talking was hilarious, and it was a joy just to be around him and learn a lot too.
Well, I'm sure after every game that he did lose, you were probably scared to play him the next time, because if we learned anything from the last dance, it was the second you doubted him, he was coming back for you.
You know what? The one thing I learned about him was that he was going to play until he won, no matter what it was. So I wasn't crazy. Like, I win and leave. Some of the other guys, no matter what it was, if it was cards, they would stay. No, not me. No, I'm going home, because he was going to play until he won. So you had to know what animal, what beast you were dealing with. Because at the end of the day, he was tough. He was tough.
Coach, last thing from me, you were asked during our basketball preview about The Last Dance and MJ or LeBron, and then you brought up Mark Aguirre. I figured since you're a Chicago guy, you're Chicago Bulls through and through, but you got some Detroit Piston in you, it sounds like.
Eric, why are you trying to get me fired? You're really touching a spot at me. Like, my mom and I were probably the only people in Chicago that was huge bad boy Detroit Piston fan. So now, like I tell people, when we were whooping their butts every other year until they figured out, I was the king in Chicago. Like, I could walk around like, oh, y'all out the playoffs. I'm like, okay, Mark, let's go. Isaiah, let's go. Dennis Rodman, like, I love Bill Laimbeer. I was probably the only person in Chicago that loved Bill Laimbeer. To this day, Joe Dumars is my favorite player still. I actually walk around my house with his jersey, but Mark Aguirre is my man. Like, Mark knows, like, we tell stories about the bad boys all the time until they bring up the Bulls. Now my vocal cords not as good as they used to be, but no, I was a huge Pistons fan. Huge.
Did you ever tell MJ that?
I'm not crazy. I mean, I probably slipped it in and left so he didn't hit me. No, I probably said it. He probably heard me. No, I forgot. I probably said it and he heard me. I might have mumbled it though. No, but every person in Chicago knows. I was a huge Piston fan back then because their style of basketball, I think, not saying that the Bulls didn't play that way, but my mother and my father, they were so tough on me. Like when I was growing up, there was this football player named Marvin Robinson. He played for the Denver Broncos. Well, he used to live in Chicago. And our rim was connected to our garage, matter of fact. So Marvin will foul you so hard, he hit you into the garage. And I remember one day I got hit. I was like, dang, Marvin. And my father was playing too. He's like, no, get up. That's a love tap. So we grew up liking hard-nosed basketball. So that was those days. So Marvin, thanks for getting me as tough as you got me. Because that hit he put on me, Rachel, I was like, I see why you played running back for the Broncos.
Well, Coach, hopefully the team won't be quite bad boys. I mean, I think basketball's probably changed in the last 25 years or so, but we want to wish you the best of luck this year, and thank you for joining us on the show. I
appreciate you guys having me, but I'm trying to instill a little bit of bad boys in just a little bit. Everyone talks about this freedom of movement stuff. I couldn't play these days because I still foul when I play, Rachel. I still give guys love taps, and I say that's a legal foul, but I appreciate you guys having me, and anytime you guys need me, let me know.
That is Lance Irvin, head men's basketball coach at Chicago State. When we come back, we'll have some of Rachel's interviews from the WAC basketball preview. You're listening to the WAC podcast.
Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And check out our website at wacsports.com.